Honorable members, prayers. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and that good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service, and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. The statements will be handled by my secretary. Honorable members, we will move straight to item 4. I don't have any message from His Excellency the President, neither do I have a formal communication today. So we'll move to item 4, correction of votes and proceedings and official report. We will start with the correction of votes and proceedings of Thursday, 16 February 2023. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Yes, Honorable Ablakwa.
I'm most grateful, Right Honourable Speaker. At page 9, item number 5, the communication from His Excellency the President. To the Speaker, I'm seeing a clash of dates. The President from this communication is attending the Munich Security Conference from Friday 17th to Sunday 19th February 2023. At the same time, we are told that he will be attending the 36th Ordinary Session of the Africa Union and will return Sunday, the same day, Sunday 19th February 2023. It's not clear at what point he will depart Germany for for the AU meeting in Ethiopia. There appears to be a clash, same time when you read the communication. So if they could look at the communication again and clarify that. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Well, it was so stated in the communication. I actually looked at it myself. He didn't give clear indication as to when he would depart Munich. Don't forget, the conference is security conference. So sometimes those things are security matters. Yes.
Well, Mr. Speaker, just to add on a lighter note that you know that we have the capacity to know exactly when he leaves and arrives, except that our records should be clear, so that it doesn't appear that it is an error. The way it has been captured here is as if we have made a mistake, because it's happening at the same time in Ethiopia and in Germany.
Actually, those are always indicative. They are not the actuals. And as I said, for security reasons, they are just indicative. But that is what is contained in the communication, so it's well captured. Page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16, page 17, page 18, page 19, page 20. Honorable members, in the absence of any corrections, the votes and proceedings of the 7th sitting held on Friday, February 16th, actually not Friday, Thursday, 16th February 2023, are adopted as a true record of proceedings. I have a copy each of the official reports of 30th June and 5th July. We'll start with that of the 30th June. Any corrections? Honorable members, in the absence of any corrections, the official report of Thursday, 30th June 2022 is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. We now move to Tuesday, 5th July 2022. Again, honorable members, in the absence of any corrections, the official report of Tuesday, 5th July 2022 is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. We move to item 5, business statement for the third week. Chairman, Business Committee.
Right Honourable Speaker, the Business Committee met yesterday, Thursday, the 16th of February 2023, and arranged business of the House for the third week ending Friday, the 24th of February 2023. The Speaker, the committee accordingly submits its report as follows. The Speaker may read any available communication to the House. The Business Committee has scheduled the following ministers to respond to questions as of them during the week. The Minister responsible for Health, 11 questions. The Minister for Transport, 8 questions. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, 7 questions. The Minister for Education, 10 questions. And the Minister for Roads and Highways, 12 questions. Speaker, in all, there are 48 questions, out of which 2 are urgent questions and 46 are regular questions. The Speaker, you may admit statements made in the House by honourable members in accordance with the Order 72. Right Honourable Speaker, papers may be late during the week and reports from committees may also be presented to the House. Mr. Speaker, motions may be debated and their consequential resolutions even taken during the week. The Business Committee again urges committees with reference to expedite action on them for the consideration of the House. The Speaker, as honourable members are aware, this year marks 30 years of parliamentary democracy since the inception of the Fourth Republic. In this regard, Parliament has earmarked a number of activities throughout the year to celebrate this monumental milestone. And in view of this, the official launch of the 30 years of parliamentary democracy is scheduled to take place on Wednesday, the 22nd of February 2023 at 9 a.m. in this very chamber. Speaker, honourable members are kindly reminded to take due notice of this and be punctual for the Wednesday sitting. Speaker, barring any unforeseen development, His Excellency the President of the Republic is expected to deliver a message on the state of the nation on Tuesday, the 28th of February 2023, in accordance with Article 67 of the Constitution. Speaker, in accordance with Standing Order 160 sub 2 and subject to Standing Order 53, the Business Committee submits to this House the order in which the business of the House shall be taken during the week. Speaker, the businesses have been set out from pages 1 to 10, and I want to urge the Hansard Department to capture the entirety of what is contained from page 1 to page 10, as duly read, and capture same into the official document, the Hansard. The Speaker accordingly submitted.
Honourable members, the report has been presented. It's now for your comments. Yes, Honourable Ablakwa.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, before the last session ended, there were a number of motions you had approved, very important motions that continue to appear on the order paper, but could not receive attention. I would have thought that with the resumption of this third session of the 8th Parliament, they will be brought back so that we can work on those motions. Particularly at this time, Mr. Speaker, that we seem to have some time on our hands to deal with some of these outstanding matters so that we don't wait to the last minute and then we'll be inundated with a last minute piling up of assignments. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to draw attention to some of those motions which we could not address. And Mr. Speaker, having said that, there is also a request that I made in the last session relating to annual reports of various institutions that are outstanding. The PPA, for example, the last time they submitted their annual report was in 2012. There are a number of statutory institutions that must submit their annual reports to this House, including public universities. Those annual reports have delayed considerably. Mr. Speaker, it is really hampering our work, and we are not able to carry out our oversight mandate as efficiently as we will want to. I recall the Majority Leader assured that he will draw attention to his colleague ministers so that those annual reports that are outstanding will be submitted to the House. We have still not received those annual reports. I want to find out from the Honourable Majority Leader and Minister for Parliamentary Affairs what is the update on those annual reports. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on page 7. That is motions. That is item IVB. There's a motion that this Honourable House adopt the report of the Special Budget Committee on the draft public elections, registration of voters, regulation 2022, and other related matters. Then C, that this Honourable House adopt the report of the Committee of the Whole on the status of registration, printing and issuance of the ECOWAS identity card, into bracket Ghana card, and related challenges. Mr. Speaker, members may recall that these two meetings took place in the last session. And the motions are going to be taken next week. And these were preconditions for us and for the whole House to have the opportunity to engage the Ghana card people and the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. Mr. Speaker, this engagement, since these two personalities may not have audience on the floor, when we are taking the motions on that day, will it be like we invite the Ghana card people, the National Identification Authority, i.e. the Minister for Interior and his team, and the chairperson of the Electoral Commission and her people to come and sit in the House, the Speaker, to listen to contributions from members on that day. After which, Mr. Speaker, if we will consider reconvening to Committee of the Whole, since they do not have audience on the floor, voice on the floor, we may have to schedule a day to engage with them so that we see how best we can iron out things. Other than that, the way we put them here, that is our constitutional mandate. We've engaged them, and we are presenting report on the floor. Once we present report on the floor, motion will be moved. Members may make input, but they do not have audience on the floor. So how do they explain some of the issues that are going to be raised here? It will call for engagement with them, and that can only happen by committee of the whole, because I happen to be a member of the special budget, and when we met, it was agreed that Parliament will schedule a day to meet the two officials together, so that whatever NIA is saying, the Electoral Commission people will also be met. Most of them were surprises to the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. She said, "Oh, I'm not aware what people are saying." Then we concluded that then we need to engage the two of you. So I speak a few comments that I want to make. There will be the need to engage the two together after moving the motion. Thank you.
Yes, any more comments? Let me start with Honorable Clement Apart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to comment on the business statement. Mr. Speaker, my comment also has to do with a very important matter that was the subject of discussion before we went to recess. In other words, during the last session. Mr. Speaker, I specifically seek an update from the leadership of the House with regards to when the Parliamentary Friendship Associations would be inaugurated. Mr. Speaker, I am fully aware that you have played a very important role in making the Parliamentary Friendship Associations a component of our Parliament. Mr. Speaker, the 8th Parliament came into session on the 7th of January, 2021. Today's date is the 17th of February, 2023. And yet, the Parliamentary Friendship Associations have not been inaugurated. Mr. Speaker, I believe this clearly should be a source of concern for your good self and the rest of us. Mr. Speaker, you've always encouraged us to take advantage of some of these opportunities to brighten our horizons and to work with our neighbors and colleagues in other parts of the world for the common good of humanity and for Ghana. In that regard, Mr. Speaker, I would want to plead with you to use your office to ensure that the Parliamentary Friendship Committees, associations are inaugurated so that we can benefit from such interactions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Suhini.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, last week I made a humble appeal to the Business Committee, but your superior wisdom and guidance was that it should not coincide with the Minister of Finance's presentation on the domestic debt exchange program. Mr. Speaker, it has to do with the humble request for the House to consider taking a briefing from the Finance Minister on the new policy that we have heard oftentimes discussed in the media, gold for oil. And Mr. Speaker, my humble plea was based on the experience that is known to this House with regard to how Sino-Hydro has not lived up to expectation, even though we're told that it was also a butter transaction policy. And again, Mr. Speaker, the discussions raise questions about whether or not it is not to be covered under Article 1815 of the 1992 Constitution. And it is based on these, Mr. Speaker, that I want to renew my appeal to the Business Committee to consider programming the Finance Minister to brief this House, because we are told this policy is basically handled by the Bank of Ghana, on the nature of this policy and whether or not it is an international transaction that requires Parliament's attention, and especially because we know where Sino-Hydro has left us. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable from you. Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful. Mr. Speaker, mine has to do with a security issue. I have read and I have watched from the media the influx of our brothers from the Burkina Faso into Ghana as a result of some disturbances. Some people have moved into Ghana, and I've listened to the Boku West District Chief Executive, who's lamenting that government is here to come to their aid. They have received so many people from Burkina Faso because of some kind of disturbances there. And I thought that it's a national security matter. There's a need for the National Security Office Minister to come and give us some kind of hope. I'm saying this because my constituency, as well as the Solatuna Kalba constituency, shares a boundary with Burkina Faso. And so if you think that it's just a Boku issue or it's just Upper East issue, very soon you'll get to Savannah region and, for that matter, the Bole Bamboy constituency. So I'm concerned. So I'm making a passionate appeal to you to let the minister responsible for national security come to this House and give us some hope, so that we know that at least we are able to keep it there and it doesn't move into Ghana to create problems for us. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity. I'm grateful.
Yes, Chairman, Business Committee.
Speaker, the matter relating to annual reports, I think that they indeed are time-bound. So I agree with the honourable member that we should pursue the various sector ministers to ensure compliance, that these annual reports come timeously through Parliament. So I guess I may have to confer with the various sector ministers to ensure they are brought timeously. But let me note that so many of them have also come to the House, and the committees have not worked on them. So to also, on the other hand, urge the committees to act expeditiously on those ones that have come. The Speaker, having said that, charity must begin from home. Even Parliament is in default. So, the Speaker, I will urge the Clerk to Parliament to ensure that Parliament also complies with the submission of our annual reports, so that whilst urging that the various sector ministers and indeed the other constitutional creatures, including the various MDs, should comply, Parliament should also comply as well. Speaker, the Deputy Whip for the minority is indicating that, he related to what is captured on page 7 of the order paper in respect of the reports from the Special Audit Special Budget Committee that for consideration and possible adoption. I don't know, maybe it may become necessary for the table office to ensure that members who might have perhaps left their own reports after the report was submitted to come with, to have the new issuance of those reports so that members can consider them or read them ahead of the House applying itself to it. Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Minority Whip is indicating to us that the report is ensuing from the last meeting of this House. I guess he meant the previous meeting of the House, not the last meeting. If there's a last meeting, nothing can come after the last meeting. So if it was a last meeting, what is the position of this? It cannot be the last session, because we are into the third session. We are into the third session, and there cannot be there cannot be a last session in the second session of the House. Mr. Speaker, I agree that it may be necessary to bring the two together, to listen to us. He is saying that there will be a need to bring the two together. I don't know where he's drawing his inspiration from. It may become necessary, perhaps. But if you are indicating to us that there will be a need to bring the two together, and then it means that you have purposed that following after the discussion of the report, we will certainly need to bring them together again. I don't know where you are drawing your inspiration from. Let's get there, and we will cross the bridge. Speaker, I am aware that work on the Parliamentary Friendship Associations have been done, and we are about left with the inauguration of the Friendship Associations. And that, of course, rests with you, Mr. Speaker, the inauguration of the Friendship Associations. So the honourable member, the Honourable Clement Park, who asked the question, I think the groundwork has already been done. I only left with the inauguration, which rests with the Speaker. So once space is found for that, it could be done, and I hope it will be done this meeting. Mr. Speaker, in registering the observation, which certainly is all part of the business statement for next week, I really observed the member reading copiously from a prepared statement. I don't know whether he wanted the opportunity to make a statement on that, because his eyes, as I observed it, was really glued to a prepared statement. How do I know? I was observing you closely. I'm submitting to you that this is not what you wrote. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Suhini raised an issue relating to the gold for oil transaction. And he's saying that it should come to Parliament. We'll see. We'll see. We'll have further engagement to see the import of the request. I think I will dialogue with the minority leader on that. And I will see where to carry it. I think that, speaking for myself, I think it's one of the landmark that this government has undertaken. But maybe members may have to understand the import of it. I believe that's going to have tremendous impact on our economy. As far as I'm concerned, it's a very good decision that has been taken. But we'll get to it. The Speaker, as I said, we will have some further discussion on the matter with the minority leader, and we'll see where it will land. The Speaker, thank you. The other matter, I think somebody else raised an issue in respect of the influx of Burkina-Faso to Ghana and its impact on our national security. The Speaker, again, we'll have some discussion on that. The National Security Minister, I think, is outside the jurisdiction, So when he comes, we will discuss it. But Parliament already was going to have this committee that we have in the chamber. We're going to have a retreat on some of these matters in respect of some of the chairs and ranking members of some committees that know themselves. Unfortunately, because the minister is not available, it's not been possible. So maybe, I guess, perhaps getting to the tail end of this meeting, that meeting may have to come on. But Mr. Speaker, talking about the influx of Burkinabes, it should really inform us of the need for us as Ghanaians to subscribe to the National Identification Card. I thank you.
We should prepare. We should prepare to come very soon. Yes, honourable members, you've heard the response from the chairman of the business committee. Definitely your comments will be taken on board as we traverse the next week. In that case, the business statement as presented is adopted by the House. We'll now move to item 6. Questions. We have a number of questions. Majority Leader, are you on your feet?
Yes, indeed, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, I want to seek your indulgence to vary the order of business and to have item listed as 10 on the order paper, P6, dealt with, and I guess within a very short time you can deal with it. You can deal with it and then pave the way for us to attend to the item listed as 6.
Members, I grant leave to the Majority Leader to vary the order of business for us to move to page 6 of the order paper and start with item 10. This is to be moved by the Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to move that notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 80, sub 1, which require that no motion shall be debated until at least 48 hours have elapsed between the date on which the notice of the motion is given and the date on which the motion is moved, the motion for the approval of membership of the committee to advise the Speaker on the appointment of other members of Parliamentary Service Board may be moved today. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder?
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Motion moved and seconded. It's for the consideration of the House. It's a procedural motion. And so I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say no. I haven't heard members. Those in favor say aye. Those against Against, say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. We now can move to item 11. Are we okay? Ready for item 11? Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant to Clause 2, Sub B of Article 100 of the Constitution of the Republic and Section 5 of the Parliamentary Service Act, Act 460, the House is invited to approve the following membership of the Committee to advise the Right Honourable Speaker on the appointment of other members of the Parliamentary Service Board. Speaker, the membership of the advisory group includes my humble self, Osechi Mensah-Bonsu, the Honourable Dr. Kesil Atsu Bar-Forson, the Honourable Alexander Kwamina Afenyo-Markin, and the Honourable Emmanuel Ama Kufibua. Speaker, having so done, I would want to justify the reason for the involvement of these four people as listed. Speaker, I am moving that the House constitutes a committee to advise you on the recomposition of the membership of the Parliamentary Service Board. Speaker, you would recall that at the commencement of this meeting, specifically on the 7th of February 2023, you informed this House of receipt of a communication from the National Democratic Congress, NDC, notifying Parliament of changes in the leadership of the Minority Caucus. The changes led to a replacement, among others, of the leader of the Minority Caucus, the Honourable Haruna Idrisu, with the Honourable Dr. Kesil Atsu. Ordinarily, in practice of this House, over time, a change in the leader of the caucus has resulted in a corresponding change in the membership of the Parliamentary Service Board. The Speaker, Section 5 of the Parliamentary Service Act 1993 at 460 provides that, and I quote, the board consists of the Speaker, a chairman, 4 other members, all of whom shall be appointed by the Speaker, acting in accordance with advice of a committee of Parliament. And pursuant to the above provision of and the long-standing conventions and practices of the House, it is proposed for the consideration of the House the under-mentioned members to constitute the committee that would advise the Speaker on the appointment of a suitable person to fill the vacancy occasioned in the membership of the Parliamentary Service Board with the ouster of the minority leader, the Honourable Haruna Idrisu. The Speaker, accordingly, I move that a committee to advise the Speaker be composed of the following. As I said earlier, my humble self, Osechi Mensah-Bonsu, the Majority Leader, the Honourable Alexander Afenyo-Markin, the Deputy Majority Leader, the Honourable Emmanuel Ama Kufibua, Deputy Minority Leader, and the Honourable Dr. Kesil Atsu. Mr. Speaker, I so move. Mr. Speaker, I think there is a mix-up on the motion. Those of them who have it. It is the Honourable Kwame Gobenzagboja. The rather should read the Honourable Dr. Kesil Atsu. That is, Mr. Speaker, following the convention and practice of this House. I so move.
Motion numbered 11 at page 6 of the order paper moved accordingly. Any seconder?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion. Mr. Speaker, as has been stated, a gap has been created and it has been occasioned by the recent changes that was announced by the National Democratic Congress. Indeed, Dr. Atsu has been approved as the minority leader. And that requires that, Mr. Speaker, these changes be done on the Parliamentary Service Board. And that indeed is the reason for this report. Mr. Speaker, I therefore support a recommendation for the adoption of the report to appoint Dr. Kisla Atsu the minority leader on the Parliamentary Service Board. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Honourable members, motion moved and seconded is for the consideration of the House. Yes, Honourable Ablakwa.
Well, thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I would like to congratulate our colleagues who have been appointed to serve on the Parliamentary Service Board. Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very important board. They are to advise you as chair of the Parliamentary Service Board. And Mr. Speaker, they are going these important positions at a very, very crucial time. At a time we are celebrating 30 years of parliamentary democracy. And Mr. Speaker, at a time that for the first time in the history of our country, we have a speaker who is not from the ruling party. We have a very decorated and illustrious member of parliament who has been elevated to the enviable position of speaker, who is leading a number of reforms. Mr. Speaker, our parliament has just been adjudged the most open parliament in Africa. And you are determined to keep that very significant title that we have been accorded. And Mr. Speaker, we also know that you are leading a number of reforms, including strengthening members of parliament's offices with staff, making sure that we are well resourced to carry out our mandate, not only having research assistants, but also having the technical support that we require to carry out research, to carry out oversight, and to be able to pursue our constitutional mandate with in-depth understanding. Mr. Speaker, we also know that you are passionate about having members of parliament equipped logistical-wise and also with offices, so that even in the constituencies, when the member of parliament is here in the chamber working, the good people of this country can be assured that member of parliament's office is functioning and running. So there are quite a good number of refreshing initiatives that you are leading, and being a reformist yourself, we are excited about that. So we congratulate our colleagues, and we have no doubt that they will bring their expertise and experience to bear in supporting you and the board to champion all of these reforms and to ensure that at the end of the day, our parliament is strengthened. Yes. Yes. So, Mr. Speaker, I have no doubt that they will offer good counsel and very good advice to the Speaker. They are people who are well versed, and we all have enormous respect for them. I hope that the dinosaur in that committee, the majority leader, will not bully them and will be accommodative to the new entrants, so that they can also bring their views on board, seeing that he sometimes has a tendency to be a bully and to be larger than the institution of parliament. On that lighter note, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, yes, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to speak to the motion. Mr. Speaker, it's very important that you have moved with speed to constitute this very important committee as provided for under the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. But I'll require some explanation, Mr. Speaker, especially with Article 1242B, as stated on the face of the motion paper. With your permission, I'll read that there shall be a parliamentary service which shall form part of the public service of Ghana. 2, there shall be a parliamentary service board which shall consist of A, the Speaker as chairman, B, and that's where the emphasis is, 4 other members, all of whom shall be appointed by the Speaker, acting in accordance with the advice of a Committee of Parliament and the Clerk of Parliament, C. The Speaker, I know you've chaired this committee within the last 3 years, and I don't recall a Committee of Parliament being put together to advise you in accordance with the Constitution. I may be wrong. Let's be. I'm being heckled by the majority leader. If you can allow me, because I'm being over-heckled by the leader of government business. Mr. Speaker, I know you are close with the powers to constitute the committee, and members will be happy to know your committee that you consulted to advise you in arriving at this. Second of the now chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Honorable Johnson Asiedun Ketia, was a former member of the committee, and we congratulate him for the service provided the committee, and also Honorable Hakman also Ajman used to be a member of the said committee. Mr. Speaker, but we know the very important role this committee plays with regards to your office and the administration of Parliament. And my worry and concern was that constitutional provision, a Committee of Parliament that advises you with the composition and nomination of those 4 members, which the Constitution allows you to nominate. That was my only concern. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yes, Majority Leader.
The Speaker, as the honourable member for as a Okaikwe Central, Okaikwe South, Central, Okaikwe Central, as indicated. The Speaker, yes, is right in referring to Article 1242B, that there shall be a parliamentary service board which shall consist of the Speaker as chairman, 4 other members, all of whom shall be appointed by the Speaker, acting in accordance with the advice of the Committee of Parliament. The Speaker, it is that Committee of Parliament that is being set up now. So the committee now will meet and proffer its advice to the Speaker on who will constitute the 4-person team to join Mr. Speaker and the Clerk to Parliament. That's all that this committee is set out to do. So when the Honorable Okujeto went on another trajectory, already commending the committee for reforms that have been initiated and to be continued, Mr. Speaker, I was wondering where he was drifting to. And equally so for the Honorable Patrick Yabuama, who is saying that he doesn't recollect that any such committee has been put in place. The Speaker, maybe the formation of those committees got lost on his own personal radar. That committee has always been set up when the occasion demands. So, the first time, the Speaker, when the majority at the time, changed their leadership 4 times, beginning with your good self as the majority leader, replaced by the Honorable Cletus Abuka and the Honorable Kumbo later. Then later, the Speaker, somebody getting recycled. All of them. A committee had to be set up to properly constitute, to be constituted and then advise the Speaker. So, the Speaker, that has always been the practice of the House. That is for the avoidance of doubt.
Yes, honorable members, I thought this was a simple matter. Yes, go on.
Well, Right Honourable Speaker, I just want to set the record straight that I was referring to the board. I was Parliamentary Service Board under the leadership of the Speaker for the reforms and all the laurels, the awards we were winning. So I'm allowed to. The committee will advise the Speaker on an appointment to the Parliamentary Service Board, and I'm allowed to celebrate the Parliamentary Service Board under the able leadership of the Right Honourable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagby. So that's all I did. So we don't have to confuse the board and the committee. They are 2 distinct entities. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think it's in order for the honourable member to have made a point he made. I personally have been in this House for 14 years. And I have to tell you, I'm very proud of the changes I'm seeing under your leadership. And I think every opportunity we have to talk about some of the reforms and the changes you've brought are things that we should celebrate, especially on the occasion of the 30th anniversary of our democracy. So, Mr. Speaker, it's in order. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Dafia Mako.
Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to add my voice in support of the motion on the floor. Mr. Speaker, particularly because we want to urge the committee to assist you to be able to successfully host the Commonwealth Parliamentary celebrations that will take place this year, the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association celebrations that will take place this year, which will coincide with our 30-year anniversary. And so it's important that the committee assists you to select members and people who can help you put this program together successfully. Because the eye of the world, especially the Commonwealth world, will be on Ghana this year. So this is all that I want to add in support of the people who assist you to do a good job for us this year. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
We need to celebrate it.
Yes, Majority Leader.
The Speaker, just so that we get it right. The event in Ghana, which would be from 30th September to 6th of October, is not a celebration. It's a Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference. It's not a Commonwealth Association celebration. With the greatest respect, it's a conference, the Speaker, that is involving all Commonwealth parliaments coming to have a conference in Ghana. This is the 6th conference of the CPC. And on account of that, the fact that it's holding in Ghana, Right Honourable Speaker is the president of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, because Ghana is hosting it. And because Ghana is hosting it, the President of the Republic is the vice patron. The patron is the King of England, and the President of the host country is the vice patron on account of the fact that that country will be hosting it. So it's a two-pronged thing that is happening. But it's a conference and not a celebration. In a greater respect.
Honorable members, may we move on?
Mr. Speaker, I think that's exactly the point. The vice patron, and Ghana was not selected by accident because of our credentials. And so, yes, it's a conference, but there's good reason why some of us can use the comment that the selection of Ghana for the conference is good enough reason for us to celebrate. Thank you.
I put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Is carried. Honorable members, we now go back to item 6, questions. The minister should take his appropriate seat, and we start with question number 332, who signs in the name of Mr. Wisdom Gidisu, the Honourable Member of Parliament for Karachi East. Honourable Member, you may ask your question now. First Deputy Speaker to take the chair.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Roads and Highways when the feeder roads will be constructed to link the following communities in Karachi's constituency. 1. Abunyira, Abukope, Ganakwe, Koto Briga, Dagoshikope, Ulubu, Alamblo, Nchini, Udumase Adokope, and Kudokope. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, beginning with the background. When mentioning the roads, Avunya, Ako, Kope, Ganakopo, Okotobrija, Jabesi, Kope, Urubu, Alambro, Insimin, Sini, Udumasi to Adokope, and then Kudo Kope roads. Just because, and which constitute communities. Just because these communities in the Karachi East municipality are fishing and farming settlements, mostly along the Volta Lake. The roads leading to these settlements are farm tracks, which are not captured in the feeder roads network. They are all unengineered roads. Just because currently there is no program on these farm track roads. But the future program, Mr. Speaker, is that engineering studies will be conducted on these roads during the first quarter of 2023 for the appropriate interventions to be carried out on them. The execution of the works will be considered under the 2024 budget, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm happy when the Minister acknowledged in his answer that the communities, all these communities are all fishing and farming settlements. And the roads are just farm tracks. And that is exactly the impulse of this question. In his answer, he also stated that the engineering works will be done in this year, 2023, and actual works will be captured in 2024 budget. And I want to know whether the ministry is considering a temporary measure to actually curb the situation until 2024, because it is very difficult to transport these farm products to the regional capital, for that matter, the nearby towns. That is why it is very important. Whether he's considering, the ministry will consider putting temporary or interim measures in place to actually alleviate the problems that they are facing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, rightly so, as I did say, these communities and roads lead to very important areas that undertake economic activities of farming and fishing. That is why we are carrying out the engineering work this quarter to form part of 2024 budget. And until that time, we shall continue to keep an eye on it to make sure that these farm tracts are always accessible. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes,
thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to use the opportunity to thank my brother, the minister, for the good work he's doing, and also to get assurance from him whether we should take it that come 2024, just like he said is in answer, that the rules will be captured in the 2024 budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, Mr. Speaker, I can again confirm that once engineering studies are taken on these community roads and pave the way to form part of 2024 budget, then obviously it would have been, or they would have been programmed for an action to be taken. I thank you.
Very well. Item number 618. Honorable Member for Nalerugu Kambaga. Tasedu Yusuf.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Roads and Highways what plans the ministry has for the following road networks in my constituency. 1. Dendane, Oparibine, Zodilga, Sumimboma, and Namasim Road. Number 2, Langbinsi, Wundu Road. Number 3, Langbinsi, Kasape, Buzulngu, and Timpela Roads. Number 4, Buzulngu Junction to Samini. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I begin with Dindani to Pipali to Bene, Zogrego, Somni Boma to Namansin roads. Mr. Speaker, this road is gravel earth surface in poor condition. It is 17.1 kilometers long and located in the East Mamprusi district of the Northeast region. Currently, there is no program on this road. However, the future program is that engineering studies have been conducted on the road for rehabilitation. The execution of the works will be considered under 2024 budgets. 2, Langusi to Undua Road. Mr. Speaker, this road is identified on Department of Federal Roads road database as Languisi to Ndua to Pasong to Kupaga, which is 25.7 kilometers. The road is an inter-district feeder road that connects East Mamprusi of the Northeast region to Karaga district of the Northern region. The Languisi-Undua section, which falls within the East Mamprusi district, is an engineered gravel surface road in poor condition. The remaining length within the Karaga district is mainly unengineered. Currently, Mr. Speaker, the contractor for the rehabilitation of the road was awarded under the project titled Rehabilitation of Languisi to Undua to Pasong to Papaga feeder road, measuring 25.7 kilometers. The contract commenced on 8 December 2016 for completion by 8 March 2018. The contractor executed works including 1. 25.7 kilometers of clearing and formation, 2. 12 number 1/90 millimeters diameter pipe culverts, 3. 1 number 3 by 3 by 3 reinforced box culvert, 4. 1 number 2 by 2 by 2 reinforced box culvert, and 1 number of 900 millimeter diameter pipe culvert. The work stalled after achieving 50% physical completion. The contractor abandoned site in December 2018, and warning letters have been issued to resume work. The Department of Federal Roads is taking the necessary steps to terminate the contract. 3. Languisi to Pasepe to Buzu Lugo to Timpara Road. Mr. Speaker, this road is 12.5 kilometers long. It is located in the East Mamprusi district of the Northeast region. It is a gravel surface road and in poor condition. Currently, there is no program on the road. Engineering studies conducted on the road during the first quarter of 2023 for upgrading as its future program. The execution of the road of the works will be considered under the 2024 budget. Four, the Buzungulu Junction to Samini Road. Mr. Speaker, this road is identified on Department of Federal Roads road database as Kasape to Samini, which is 7.1 kilometers. It is located in the East Mamprusi district of the Northeast region. It is gravel earth surface road in poor condition. Again, there is no program, Mr. Speaker, on this road. Engineering studies will be conducted on the road during the first quarter of 2023 for upgrading. The execution of the work will be considered under the 2024 budget. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. The Speaker, the Minister has alluded to the fact that this respective roads network is in very deplorable situation. But most of the answers he's given has to do with a plan for 2024 budget. But I want to find out from whether there's any temporal intervention the Department of Federal Roads plans to put in place, at least to help lessen the burden of people around these localities. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these are very important roads in the constituency, and they constitute a major network for the movement of the people to carry out their daily and commercial activities. So until steps are taken to work on the roads, as I have indicated, because they must be budgeted for. That's why we are looking at 2024. But during the interim, yes, all these roads will come under the ministry's ongoing routine maintenance program. And we will keep a close eye on them to make the roads more trouble. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to find out, so if there's all this roads network will pass through the routine maintenance schedule, is there any specific timing or a schedule that he can give so that will assist your ministry to monitor the work on the ground? I'll be grateful if the minister could give that information, then we can help him to monitor what is going on the ground. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I always want to avail my ministry and the technical staff to be available, to carry out our work. But I always also call for support and collaboration from my. So if we continue to work together and there's any issue, particularly regarding maintenance, until the conditions become favorable for us to work on the roads. I want my colleagues, Mr. Speaker, to also support me and bring all issues to my ministry's attention and my attention, so that we address them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, you have one more opportunity.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, my last question is specifically in connection with Langbinsi Wundu Road, that is captured in the question as number 2. And the Langbinsi Kasakre Busulungu Road. Okay, for the Langbinsi Busulungu Road, Langbinsi Wundu Road, Mr. Speaker, and on November 2021, this question was asked the minister, and he specifically told us, if you look at column 17 of our official report of 5th November 2021, the minister indicated that the road was being assessed and it will be captured in the 2023 budget for construction to start. Now, if you look at the 2023 budget, there's no specific to that effect. If you look at it, you cannot find these roads there, and I understand it has in a detailed report at his ministry. I want to find out from him, as he promised, that it will be captured in the 2023 budget. Is the Langbinsi Wundu Road captured in the 2023 budget, as he said? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
The last question that relates to the.
Honorable, you have asked a question. You've asked a question. I thought you wanted him to answer.
Okay.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, Mr. Speaker, because the contract for this project had delayed for too long, and the project was being undertaken by MCC, Razak, Company Limited. But as indicated, it had to be terminated first so that it could be captured. And steps have been taken, to get the termination process, completed. Meanwhile, it's part of the 2023 budget, but we have to go through the process first, before packaging and re-awarding to a more competent contractor. So I can confirm that. I thank you.
Very well, I'll move on. Question number 648, in the name of the honorable member for Tema East, Isaac Ashai Odamche. Yes, may I ask you a question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to ask the Minister for Roads and Highways the state of the following industrial area road projects after the sword cutting. I. Vaco Runabout through Tor to Pung. I. Tor Junction, DVLA to Titi Brothers Junction. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Tema is a metropolitan assembly in the Greater Accra region. And I want to pick Baku Roundabout to Tor to Pong Road first. Mr. Speaker, the contract for rehabilitation of Tema industrial area to Pong Road, measuring 7.2 kilometers, commenced on 21st February 2022 for completion by 20th February 2024. The project is at 10% physical completion. The contractor is on site. However, works are progressing slowly. 2. Tor Junction to DVLA to TT Brothers Junction. Mr. Speaker, the above roads were awarded under two separate contracts titled Reconstruction of Tema Steel West Road, measuring 4.2 kilometers, and Reconstruction of DVLA Road in Tema, also measuring 1.20 kilometers. Reconstruction of Tema Steel West Road. Mr. Speaker, the project commenced on 3rd June 2018 for completion by 3rd January 2020, which was revised to 18th December 2020. The project, Mr. Speaker, is substantially completed. Reconstruction of DVLA Road in Tema. Mr. Speaker, the road commenced on 18 June 2018 for completion by 17 February 2019. The project is at 3% physical completion. The contractor has vacated site. The contract is being terminated for non-performance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, for a contract that has to run 2 years, that is gone 1 year already, and still at 10% physical completion, evidently indicates we are on the path of failed timelines. The inconvenience to commuters and vehicle owners is telling. Given the importance of that corridor, will the minister consider doing something that would make commuters and vehicle owners have respite on that corridor? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these three roads, as indicated, are very important to us, and particularly the enclave where the roads are. So I agree with my honorable colleague. And I am sure he's also aware that the construction of these roads from Bago roundabout through Tor to Pum and to Stillworks and TT Brothers are not ordinary road to be constructed to bituminous level. These are areas that have been programmed as concrete roads. Mr. Speaker, in our country, the only concrete road that we have, properly, so speaking, is the Accra-Tema motorway. And because of the heavy vehicular movements around this enclave, we decided to construct the roads there as concrete roads. And special, ceremony was carried out. And concrete roads require specific equipment. So there are no roads that if any contracted before, you can easily re-award to another person. That is why the Steel Road to TT Brothers Road is substantially completed, because the contractor who undertook that job was one of the best we have in this country, Joshop Construction. And he used a special machine for that job. So he has been charged to undertake the other remaining jobs, particularly from Vaco roundabout to Tor. So I want to say that this job will be undertaken, to a great extent this year, having almost completed the Stillworks Road, which I'm sure you are aware yourself, because that is substantially completed. It's around 98% completion. So the contractor is moving to the other road between Tor and Vaco roundabout. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honorable member.
Mr. Speaker, reading from the last but one paragraph, with your permission, the project is, and this relates to the DVLA road in Tema. The project is at 3% physical completion. The contractor has vacated site. The contract is being terminated for non-performance. Marrying these two statements, that the contractor has performed on the Steelworks Road and is being assigned to the Vaco roundabout to Tor Junction. Yet this is a contractor who has abandoned site for non-performance. May I ask the minister what the consequences will be for a road that has received some work, 3% work done, yet no payment made? What will be the legal implication for termination? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, we don't just get up to terminate contracts. Yes, there is a contractual relationship between the employer, being the government, and the contractor. And you may not know what the 3% constitutes, so that if the contractor has abandoned site and he has not worked up to the level that he should be paid, per the certificate, what we call the IPC, interim payment certificate, that is submitted, then we will make sure we have basis for terminating the contract. So once we decide to terminate the contract, definitely, we shall comply with the prevailing law, connecting the employer and the contractor.
Very well. Question number 712. The name of the honorable member for Denta, Mr. Mohammed Adamu Ramadan. You may ask your question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Roads and Highways what urgent steps the ministry is taking to mitigate the traffic situation on the Adenta Amahia Malejo Dodowa Road. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Adenta Dodowa Road forms part of the regional road R40, which connects the Greater Accra region at Adenta Junction through Dodowa to the eastern region at Trom. It is a single carriageway with bituminous surface treated and in fair condition. Sections of the road are, however, in bad condition at major intersections and at the approaches of speed tables. It has medium to high traffic, which worsens during the peak hours, being morning and evening. Currently, Mr. Speaker, the dualization of the Adenta Dodowa Road is part of the Sano Hydro Master Project Support Agreement between the Government of Ghana and Sano Hydro Corporation of China as Lot 5. Under the program, the road is supposed to be widened to a dual carriageway between Adenta and Ohibi. However, this particular lot has stalled because Sanosure is yet to clear the financing. However, Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Highway Authority in the interim has been carrying out routine maintenance works on the bad sections of the road to keep it motorable and to maintain the structural integrity of the road. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the 28th of July 2018, this House passed the Master Project Support Agreement. And on the 21st of November 2018, that year, the Information Minister, Kujokon Nkrumah, indicated that the first tranche of $649 million had been made available to be accessed by government. The project was due to start in 2019, the following year. Mr. Speaker, 5 years on, nothing has started on that road. I want to find out from the Minister whether this project is still on the table, it's completely off the table now. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, all the projects constituting the first lot under the Sano Hydro Master Agreement program are all on the table and are being worked on. Work might be slow on one or two projects, but I can assure you and everybody in this country that the first 10 projects approved by Sano Hydro, constituting the first phase and totaling 441 kilometers of road network, is being worked on. But I mentioned in my answer that Sanoshio, and Sanoshio is the insurance aspect of the project, must necessarily underwrite the financing agreement for this particular project, and is being worked on, and as it forms part of the first lot, is still on the table and is going on, as others have been completed in the country. Mr. Speaker, if you allow me, you can see that Tamale interchange fully completed. Takrady PTC interchange almost around 97-98% completion stage, and other internal roads, 100 kilometers in Kumasi, Cape Coast, and the rest, have been completed and commissioned in the Western region. So this forms part of the part 1 of the project, and it will be finished. I can give you that assurance.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, one can best describe the situation on that stretch of road as horrendous. A distance of about 10, 12 kilometers, which would take about 20 or 30 minutes, would sometimes take people between 3 to 4 hours. If you need to experience it to appreciate what I'm saying. Adenta is predominantly a dormitory constituency where people in the middle class work in town but live there. People would have to wake up sometimes as early as 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. to move into town just to avoid the traffic. Mr. Speaker, I'd beg the minister if they can consider looking at the inner roads, because if you know that stretch properly, people coming from, say, around Ashia, Manfrom, if the inner roads are properly okay, they don't have to get onto the main road. They can use the inner roads to come through Hotel Junction or through to Ashalboje. So, Mr. Speaker, I'd kindly plead with the minister if we can consider that option, or if, like they did for the gang of 4 roads, if GOG could take over and then consider dualizing this road, because it's really difficult for my constituents. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's an option worth considering, and I can also confirm that that road is one of the heavily trafficked roads we have within Greater Accra region. That is why the road is being widened and being dualized. You know, between Adenta and OEB, we are dualizing that portion of the road. It's all an attempt to make sure that we reduce the congestion of vehicles on that road. So your suggestion, I would say, is a good one and is worth considering. I thank you.
Very well. I move on to question number 776. In the name of the honourable member for Awutu Senior West, Mrs. Gisela Tetabuti.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Roads and Highways when the following roads will be completed in the Awutu Senior West constituency. 1. Obrachwe SHS Road. 2. Bontrasi to Airusu Road. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Bontrace to Iresu and Obrache SHS roads can be found in Port Biasi in the Utu Senya West District of the Central Region. Trading and farming are the primary economic activities in this area. The rehabilitation of the Bontrace to Iresu and Obrache SHS roads have been awarded under the contract title Rehabilitation of Port Biasi Town Roads, measuring 5.2 kilometers. The project commenced on 14 September 2020 for completion in 24 calendar months. The Speaker, the roads to be constructed under this contract include 1. Opei Abe to Solomon Quay Junction, Port Biasi, measuring 2.3 kilometers. 2. Y Junction to Ayensu Start Factory Road, also in Port Biasi, measuring 1.4 kilometers. 3. Apete Factory Road to road at Bontrace, measuring 0.7 kilometers. And 4. Obrache Senior High School roads, also measuring 0.8 kilometers. Mr. Speaker, currently the contractor is on site and undertaking drainage works on Obrache Senior High School roads. The physical progress of work is estimated at 22%.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, one big challenge I realize from all these segments of roads that have been packaged together is that this constituency has a lot of rainfall, high level of rainfall when the rainy season sets in. And quite a number of the drains have been done in sections and not completed. So there's a lot, it's likely to cause a lot of erosion, and also likely there are some cases where some of the drains have even been broken a bit because they started and terminated at a point. And so with all these multiple sections that are outstanding, and with the physical progress of works estimated at 22%, can the Minister give an assurance that I am presupposing that there is some payment issue relating to this? Can the Minister please give some assurance that perhaps some payments will be done so that the contractor can expedite work, and then also the people will also benefit from the roads that are being improved? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is true that work on this project has been slow. And as much as we try to push the contractor to speed up work, and I believe you know the contractor, Poly Rose Positive West Africa Limited. In fact, the original completion date for this work should have been September last year, 2022. So we moved it to December 2022, but from all indication, we may have to extend it to December this year. And we also need to push the contractor by supporting him. I must be honest and fair to the contractor. Payment must also be made available to the contractor. And we are trying to do that to support him. But the good thing is that the contractor still remains on site. But work is not going on. But I can say that with the support from us, work will proceed, and the contractor will be empowered to keep it up. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So again, these roads are in 3 different communities. 2 are in Bodrasi, Opeyabe and Solomon Kwe Junction are in Bodrasi. White Junction to Ayisu Start Factory are in Bodrasi. Akpetishi Factory Road is in Bontrasi, and Obrache Senior High School is in Obrache. So I will plead, Honorable Minister, these 3 communities are very important, and they have suffered for long with their bad roads. I thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister. Just your assurance or?
Mr. Speaker, I share the concern, and I take the concern in good faith. Thank you.
Very well. Question number 1350. In the name of the Honourable Member for Atsu, Dr. Kinsley Nyako.
Mr. Speaker, I write to seek for permission to ask the question on behalf of Dr. Kinsley Nyako.
Why do you have to seek permission?
Mr. Speaker, he informed me to ask on his behalf.
He has asked you to ask the question on his behalf?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Permission is granted.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Roads and Highways when the contractor working on the Santase Apri-Himan Road will return to site to continue and complete the deplorable road.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Santase to apply to Heman Road is identified on Department of Federal Roads Road Database as Santase Apre Heman to Bedu, which is 14.65 kilometers. The road is an inter-district feeder road that connects Kwadasu Municipal and Achima Kwanuma District of the Ashanti region. Mr. Speaker, it is an engineered gravel surface road in fair condition. Currently, Mr. Speaker, contract for the upgrading of the road was awarded under the project titled Upgrading of Santase to Apre to Heman to Bedu Feeder Road. The contract commenced on 21st February 2021 for completion by 20th August 2022, which was later revised to 20th August 2023. The project is currently 50% complete, and Mr. Speaker, the contractor is on site. I thank you.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Mr. Speaker, no supplementary question.
Very well. Do you have his permission to ask the next question also on his behalf?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Very well, you may proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Roads and Highways the status of the Shumase, the Chamuoso, Achuma, Techiman, Traboom Road.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Ohimase to the Nchamuoso to Achuma, Techiman to Traboom Road forms part of the R134, which carries traffic from the western side of Kumasi to Nkawie, Bibiani, and beyond. It serves towns such as the Nchamuoso, Boko, Fuase, and other communities. This road is within the Kwadaso municipality. Currently, Mr. Speaker, contract for the upgrading of Kwadaso Chabom Road, measuring 15.2 kilometers, commenced on 5th September 2019 for completion by 4th September 2021, which has since elapsed. The works are currently at 85.1 physical completion. The contractor has executed the underlisted works: 1. Site clearance and demolition works. 2. Earthworks, that is cut and fill. 3. Concrete works, as new drains and covers. 4. Road paving works, sub-base and mechanical stabilized base. 5. Sectional primer ceiling works. And 6. Sectional ceiling works. Mr. Speaker, the contractor is not on site due to delay in payment for work done. The contractor has indicated willingness to move to site when payment is duly made. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Do you have any follow-up questions, please?
No, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Yes. Honorable Leader, I thought you had sworn.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I know of this very road, and I take due notice of the response by the minister. But in fact, what the minister did on 5th of September 2019 was repackaging and giving to him, because the contractor had been on the road until that time for about 4 years. So the contract was awarded in 2014. And when the minister came, he repackaged, gave to the same contractor who's been there. And there's a lot of dust generated by the contractor who comes. It's just touch and go. Even where he has done and applied bitumen from Ushima, say he's done just about 1 kilometer. Every now and then he's on it, scarifying and doing it all over again. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, may we know from the minister if indeed he's satisfied with the work, apart from the payment that he said is due, even the sport that he has done. Every now and then, he comes, scarifies it, and does it all over again. And is the minister really satisfied with the job of the contractor?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I cannot say that I am satisfied with any job unless it's completed. And I know the worries of even all my colleagues if road construction works start in our respective constituencies and they don't get completed, and all the troubles that we get from our people. So I cannot say that I am satisfied with the work. In my answer, Mr. Speaker, I said that a lot of work has been done. In fact, the contractor has gotten to what we call a substantial completion stage of above 85%. Some areas have been primer sealed. No, it's only a small section that has been fully sealed. And the most dangerous thing to do is that if a contractor gets to a primer seal stage and stops, within a very short time, those of us who follow road construction and understand it, within a very short time, the entire project goes back. But I was also honest to say that the contractor is owed so much, and that anytime we make effort to pay, he goes back. And the contractor who has worked on a project up to 85% completion stage by all standards, this is a serious one. So the only promise is that the employer, being the government, should also, make effort as we are doing to get some payment to the contractor to go back to complete the work. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. I can move on now, can I?
Mr. Speaker,
yes.
with the indulgence of colleagues and, of course, the Minister for Roads, who's answering questions, can I apply for us to vary the order of business and go back to item listed as 9?
What item?
Item 9.
9.
9, yes.
Yes.
On page 6 of the order paper.
Very well. Yes. Minority leadership is asking for a variation of the order of business.
Speaker, this was not explicitly discussed at conclave, but I think it's not harmful to allow the minister to just lay it. Just for the record.
Very well. At the commencement of public business, item 9, presentation and first reading of bills. A. By the Attorney General and Minister for Justice. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, to seek leave for Deputy Attorney General to do the presentation on behalf of the Attorney General.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Attorney General.
An act to establish the Ghana Industrial Property Office for the protection and use of patents, trademarks, industrial designs, geographical indications, and plant varieties, and to provide for related matters.
Honourable members, the bill is read the first time and is referred to the Committee on Constitution and Legal to consider and report. Item 9B.
An act to amend the Contracts Act 1960, Act 25, to provide for the type of interest to be paid on a sum of money due to a party of a contract or transaction entered into on behalf of the Republic.
Honourable members, the bill is read the first time and is referred to the Committee on Constitution and Legal to consider and report. That is the end of the presentation. I return to question time. Yes, Honourable Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we have listed on the order paper as item 12 and 13 in respect of the advice that the committee that was put in place formally has given to the Speaker. The Speaker, the advice has been given, and I'm not too sure that the advice that is given to the Speaker ought to be advertised, that this is the advice given to the Speaker. The advice is given to the Speaker. And I believe on account of that, the Speaker may announce to us that he's received advice from us and indeed has appointed so and so and so to serve on the Parliamentary Service Board. If that is acceptable to the Chair, the Speaker, then I will pray you that items 12 and 13 would no longer be taken, because I'm not too sure that an advice that is supposed to be given to the Speaker should be advertised on the order paper. But indeed, the advice has been given. The Speaker, thank you.
Very well. As you so advise, I'll defer any consideration of that to Mr. Speaker when he takes the chair. Other members, having regards to the state of the business of the House, I direct that the House sits outside the regular sitting hours. We shall return to question time and continue with question number 1583 in the name of the honourable member for Suhum, Dakoja Sante. Honourable member for Suhum, very well. The next question is in the name of the honourable member for Amasamai, Kwesi Ousu Efrifa Mensa. Yes, Honourable Deputy Leader.
Mr. Speaker, apparently the honourable member for Suhum had communicated to the Chief Whip. He's just drawing my attention that he wanted me to do that on his behalf because of some emergency. Mr. Speaker, with your leave, therefore, I shall proceed to ask the Minister of Roads and Highways when the Suhum or
Honourable Leader, yes. You haven't even given you the permission, you're proceeding. Okay. You are seeking permission to do it on his behalf. Is that it?
It is so.
Very well. Now permission is granted. You may ask the question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, to ask the Minister for Roads and Highways when the Suhum Okrasi asphalt overlay will be completed. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Suhum is the administrative capital of the Suhum municipality in the eastern region. Currently, the contract for asphaltic overlay on selected roads in Suhum, measuring 10 kilometers, commenced on 8th November 2019 for completion by 7th May 2020. The project is at 94% physical completion. Mr. Speaker, the Suhum Okrasi Road is captured under the project as the Independence High Street, that is Okrasi to Mile 44 Road, 4 kilometers. The contractor has completed 2.1 kilometers out of the 4. Mr. Speaker, the contractor is on site. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Deputy Leader. Are there any follow-up questions?
Mr. Speaker, no.
Very well. I'll move to Honourable Member for Amasamai.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Roads and Highways what accounts for the flooding on the N6 highway, that is from Cycle to Ofanko Road, notably in front of the Ghana Telecommunication University and in front of Shell Filling Station opposite Peace FM, in front of Moose opposite Taifa Junction and Ofanko Runabout. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Achimota to Ofanko Road on N6 was constructed from a 2-lane single carriageway to a 3-lane dual carriageway in the year 2012. The total length that was reconstructed is 5.7 kilometers. It forms part of the urban section of the dualization of the Accra-Kumasi Road project. Mr. Speaker, I want to touch on the causes of flooding on the Achimota-Ofanko Road. The flooding on this road, precisely the Shell fuel station, Old Peace FM, Ofanko Barrier, is due to encroachment on the outfall of the drains that collect runoff water from the road and adjoining land. In addition, the hydraulic capacity of the drains has been reduced by accumulation of silt and refuse. Currently, Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Highway Authority will collaborate with the Regional Coordinating Council, the Metropolitan Municipal Assemblies, and the National Security to demolish all structures on the waterways to allow the free flow of water. Meanwhile, Mr. Speaker, Ghana Highway Authority will desilt the drains as part of the agency's routine maintenance activities. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable, do you have any follow-up questions?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Please, I have a follow-up question. I would like to know from the minister, how soon can this demolition done, since rains will be starting soon? And then even a 5 minutes rain on this road cause heavy traffic. I want to know how soon the demolition will be done. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, demolition exercises haven't gotten any fixed time, any fixed date. But I think taking into consideration the nature of the perennial flooding that has been experienced at this section of the road, and the damage that it causes anytime the road gets flooded. I think the demolition, if supported by the Regional Coordinating Council and the Metropolitan Municipal Assemblies, should be carried out almost immediately, particularly around this time, before the rains set in. But doing so, Mr. Speaker, let me add that our people must also be educated and cautioned, because this road, which was constructed as far back as 2012, met all the engineering and design construction specifics, and the place was not being flooded until people decided to encroach on the outfall of the project. That has been causing the flooding, and a lot of people also throw a lot of rubbish into all the drains that were constructed as part of the road. And nobody takes any pressure in demolishing houses. And I think, Mr. Speaker, as quickly as possible, particularly around this time, I would urge these agencies, Coordinating Council, the Regional Coordinating Council, Metropolitan Municipal Assemblies, to assist us, my ministry, to carry out the demolition. And it could be done any moment from now if we get the support. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to know from the minister if his engineers, the engineers at the ministry, can do something about this road to find a lasting solution to this flooding situation on this main highway. Thank you.
I think that's what he said. The something is that they remove all the obstructions. If you have another question, please ask it. Or we should move on to the last one. Very, very well. So kindly ask question number 1656.
No, so he hasn't given them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will rise to ask the Minister for Roads and Highway when compensation will be paid to people whose properties have been affected by the construction and expansion of Anko Amasama and Sawam highways. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Ofanko Amasaman Nsawam Highway forms part of the National Road N6, which connects the Greater Accra region through Nsawam to the northern part of Ghana. The reconstruction of the road makes provision for 10 lanes, comprising 6 lanes on the main highway and 4 lanes on the service roads. Mr. Speaker, there is also provision for 4 flyovers at the major town centers, namely Amasaman, Kobiman, Media, and Nsawam Junction. The contract also makes provision for 10 pedestrian footbridges and 1 pedestrian underpass. Mr. Speaker, due to the project scope, the mandatory 90-meter right-of-way provision for national roads will be fully utilized. As a result, structures within the right-of-way were demolished to make way for the works. Currently, Mr. Speaker, the right-of-way, that is 90 meters, for the Accra-Kumasi Road corridor, which includes the Ofanko to Nsawam road section, which is also dual carriageway of 33.4 kilometers, was acquired on 23 December 2003 and amended on 16 September 2004 under the Executive Instrument ER 17 and 7. Mr. Speaker, to date, the government of Ghana has paid compensation to the tune of 40,649,177 cedis, 16 pesos, to about 1,500 project-affected persons, also referred to as PAPs. Mr. Speaker, current claimants lease the acquired right-of-way from owners who had already been paid compensation under the said ER, that is ER of 17 and 7. These claims have been submitted to the Lands Commission for a joint audit, after which eligible claims will be processed for payment. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the Minister and further ask that under what circumstances will a person whose property was demolished not qualify for compensation, since he stated in his response that the claims are being audited and only eligible claimants will be paid compensation.
Yes, Honorable.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in my answer, I have said that majority of the project-affected persons have been paid the right compensation due them. Some other people went and after the payment, some of the properties were leased out after the original owners had been paid. And government will never pay compensation twice. And there are others too who encroach on the road corridor reserved for road construction. They also did that illegally. And I want to make this point that anybody who encroaches on the right of way and who also do so despite all that we give, government will not go ahead to pay compensation to people who illegally do that. But as indicated in my answer, the matter is being referred for audit, and at the end of it, those who are due for compensation will be paid. Already, I've said over 40 million has been paid to project-affected persons. But people must be aware that if they don't do the right thing and encroach on road corridor, no compensation will be paid by government. Thank you.
Just last.
Yes, any more? You are done.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Very well. Great. Honourable members, that brings us to the end of question time. I thank the Honourable Minister for attending upon the House to answer questions. Honourable Minister, you are discharged. Yes. It is 2:30 from my watch on a Friday. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, we are taking this.
I admitted the statements, but are they agents for today? It's today's a Friday and it's past at certain time, right?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. No. Mr. Speaker, if you indulge me, there are papers to be presented that I guess you can do within 5 minutes, and then you can take the statements. That's item 8. Item 8.
Item 8, presentation of papers. Very well. A, by the Majority Leader. Aye.
Annual report of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission for 2020.
The report is duly presented. Is referred to the Committee on Energy, all right? PURC, yes, under the Committee of Energy, to consider and report, yes. Very well, I am told that the Western Housing Committee will work with the Committee on Energy. So I refer the committee to the report to the joint committees of Western Housing and Energy to consider and report. Aye.
Report of the committee composed to advise the Speaker on the appointment of other members of the Parliamentary Service Board.
Honourable members, the report is duly presented. The Speaker will act on it. Item B, 8B, by the Minister for Transport.
Speaker, to be undertaken by the Minister responsible for Roads and Highways.
Very well, Honourable Minister.
National Road Safety Authority Regulations 2022.
The report is duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Roads and Transport to consider and report. C, by the Minister for Education.
Speaker,
Honorable Minister, Leader, let me vary the order I made. The National Road Safety Authority regulations is rather referred to the Committee on Subsidiary Legislation to consider and report. Yes.
Speaker, to seek permission for the Minister for Communications to present item 8C on behalf of the Minister for Education.
Honorable Minister, I think the Minister should come and present it himself.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee.
It's not been presented. I think the Minister for Education should come and present it himself. I said the Minister for Education must come and present it himself. The presentation is deferred. Yes, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, Deputy Minister for Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development is here with us. You can do the presentation on behalf of the
Very well.
of his minister as AD.
Yes.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Bolgatanga East District Assembly for the year 2021.
Honourable members, the report is duly presented. It's referred to the Committee on Local Government to consider and report. Yes. Are we done? Item E is not ready. What about F? Items F, I, and II. Very well.
Mr. Speaker, we'll defer item F. Item F will be deferred.
Very well. Yes, so what is the pleasure of the House?
Mr. Speaker, to take the statement.
Sorry?
Mr. Speaker, to take the statement.
Is that the pleasure of the House?
Mr. Speaker, we can take the statement now. Yes, starting from the Deputy Leader's elaborate statement on cyber security.
Well, that's admitted. I'm going to take all of them. Very well. Yes. Honorable Deputy Leader, you may read your statement first.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for this treasure space to make a statement on the need for Ghana to scale up efforts to clamp down on early social media use by Ghanaian children. To begin with, Mr. Speaker, it will be helpful to provide a working definition of the technical term social media. According to Investopedia, the term social media concerns a computer-based technology that facilitates the sharing of ideas, thoughts, and information through virtual networks and communities. It explains that social media is internet-based and gives users quick electronic communication of content, such as personal information, documents, videos, and photos. Mr. Speaker, social media users or consumers typically engage with various platforms through a tablet or smartphone with web-based software applications or a computer. Examples of such social media platforms, particularly those in intense use in Ghana, are TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and YouTube. Usually, social media platforms allow for user-personalized profiles, generated content, and subscriptions. Often, these platforms require that a person to create a user-personalized platform must be at least 13 years old. Social media explosion and associated danger. Mr. Speaker, it is estimated that over 4.5 billion people around the world use social media as of October 2021. Other estimates published by thebusiness.com suggest that social media use has increased sharply since the COVID-19 pandemic. Let me hasten to concede that it is indeed the case that social media sites can serve as valuable platforms for both adults and children to acquire crucial knowledge, learn new and vital skills, consume valuable news content, and even earn a living through lawful social media marketing and content creation. To quote my respected colleague lawmaker and Minister for Communication and Digitalization, Honorable Esla Owusu Ekofo, the Internet revolution has transformed how we access information and is increasingly valuable resource for children and young people to learn, socialize, and innovate and connect. However, the unfortunate reality is that the Internet is not always helpful. Indeed, social media sites on the Internet have become very dangerous and destructive tools and platforms used by perverts belonging to the evil fringes of society to target, victimize, radicalize, and destroy the present and future of innocent or curious or unsuspecting children. One study identifies some of the main negative implications of the use of social media by school children as distraction of people's attention from their studies, frequent use of pidgin English, as well as unnecessary fashion consciousness. However, more deadly dangers are flowing from the social media consumption by children that demand urgent attention. According to the Australia's Raising Children Network, these include A. Exposure to inappropriate or upsetting content like mean, aggressive, violent or sexual comments or images. B. Uploading inappropriate content like embarrassing or provocative or nude photos or videos of themselves or others. C. Sharing personal information with strangers, for example, images, date of birth, location or address. And D. Cyberbullying. E. Exposure to too much targeted advertising and marketing, including those meant for adults. And finally, an exposure to data that breach other data sold to other organizations. To use a translated Ghanaian proverb, many parents and guardians, Mr. Speaker, quote, have slept in their beds. Unfortunately, however, their legs are languishing or lacking far beyond the confines of their bedrooms. A few official figures on the scale of the problem around the world and in Ghana should suffice. For example, Mr. Speaker, UNICEF report released in 2021 revealed that globally, 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 13 boys suffer sexual abuse or exploitation through electronic media before their 18th birthday. The report stated, quote, the scale, complexity, and danger of online facilitated child sexual abuse and exploitation is escalating, with technology enabling new modes of child abuse to emerge, such as the live streaming of sexual assault of children and sexual extortion of children, often to coerce a child to take part of child sexual abuse material under threat. Much earlier in 2018, another research titled Risks and Opportunities Related to Child Online Practices, which interviewed some 2,000 children between the ages of 9 and 17 and up to 1,000 parents or caregivers across the country's various regions also returned a disturbing result. Although the report found that 7 out of 10 young persons use the internet for learning, a troubling 4 out of 10 children or adolescents have contacted strangers they had never met in person. Also, 2 out of 10 children or adolescents have met persons face to face that they only met the first time on the internet. Further, around 3 in 10 children or adolescents reported that they had experienced bothersome or upsetting incidents or things online. Worse still, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in the United States of America has also found that over 13,000 images and videos featuring the sexual abuse of children were either accessed and or uploaded from within Ghana in the year 2020 alone. A more disturbing statistic is that only 2 out of the 10 parents or guardians expressed confidence that their children or wards could cope with things that bothered or upset them online. Also, around 3 out of 10, which translates to 28% of parents or guardians interviewed, said they were confident in supporting their wards or children to cope with upsetting things online. Mr. Speaker, clearly, these facts and figures demand a robust response from all of us as parents and lawmakers to put in place measures to protect or rescue our children. In making this statement, I am well aware that in 2020, this House passed the Cybersecurity Act, Act 1038, setting up the Cybersecurity Authority under Section 2 and empowering it to, among other things, ensure the safety of children online. The Act under Section 97 defines a child to mean a person below the age of 18. The same section defines cybercrime to mean the use of cyberspace, information technology, or electronic facilities to commit a crime. Under Section 62 to 67 of the same Act, this House criminalized abuses of children online. The prohibitions include the production, viewing, and distribution of materials featuring the sexual abuse of children. Other prohibitions concern online grooming of children, cyber-talking a child, and sextortion, which occurs when someone threatens to distribute a person's confidential and sensitive material if the person does not furnish them with images of a sexual nature, sexual favors, or money. Upon conviction, a person can face many years in jail. Mr. Speaker, the need for urgent action. Fact documented in this statement should lead us to one conclusion only, that the present and future of our children are in grave peril if we do not scale up efforts and measures to protect them from the dangerous hazards of early social media use and consumption. Accordingly, permit me, Mr. Speaker, to recommend the following urgent steps to protect our future leaders. First, Parliament must firmly direct the Ministries of Interior, Communications and Digitalization, Gender, Children and Social Protection to expedite work on developing a comprehensive online child for adoption and implementation within the immediate future. Secondly, Parliament must lead an amendment to the Cybersecurity Act 2020 to impose an obligation on the Cybersecurity Authority to submit separate biannual reports to this House for consideration and subsequent action on detailed measures it has taken to specifically safeguard Ghanaian children from the harmful effects of social media use and consumption. Thirdly, this House must draft and pass a new law through the efforts of private members prohibiting Ghanaian children under 16 from consuming and using social media. In that law, offending parents or guardians through whose negligence and or acquiescence children consume or use harmful social media content or become owners of social media accounts must face punitive fines. Liability for the offense will be strict, and it's enough that a person under 16 is seen consuming social media, or using or opening a prohibited social media account. We as parents have a role to play. While I pray this House to consider my proposal and act on them, there are self-help measures that we as parents can adopt to protect our children. For example, and as proposed elsewhere, we must do the following. 1. Have regular and truthful discussions with our children about how predators may attempt to befriend them online. 2. Serve as a haven for our children to report or discuss the importance of immediately reporting abusive or uncomfortable conversations they have online, or everything concerning anything inappropriate that they have been asked to do online. And 3, critically examine our children's online profiles as frequently as possible to know precisely generate and or post, the people they follow, and the online friends who either comment on their posts or send images. Again, conduct regular inventory on social networks and apps to guarantee that their respective privacy settings are locked on the most restrictive levels. Have conversations with our children about the dangers of sharing inappropriate or intimate videos or photos with anyone online. Monitor the digital activities or footprints or trails of our children online. Inquire regularly about the apps they use, the content they consume, and whom they talk or chat with online. Recruit safe and law-abiding professionals to teach our children about safe ways of searching the web for helpful information. Install, where appropriate, adequate parental controls crafted to block risky sites, filter inappropriate content, and help parents set screen limits. Indeed, we as parents must be quick to check intermittently on the home screens of our children to ensure they are not staying in dangerous cyberspaces. And finally, impose limits on our children's screen time and set phone curfews to prevent our children from having late-night conversation online. Also, the fact that our children attend online classes does not mean that they are safe. Therefore, we must keep a keen eye on them and monitor what they do online by regularly reviewing their computer browser history. Further, we must periodically speak with relevant authorities in their schools to know the safety protocols used to protect pupils while they use library computers or ICT labs. More importantly, it is also crucial that we promptly inform the law enforcement officers, especially the Cybercrime Unit of the Ghana Police Service and the Cyber Security Authority, the moment any child is threatened or abused. Mr. Speaker, I conclude by saying that there is certainly no way to avoid all the risks that come with children using the web or online applications. The bitter truth would always be evil men and women finding sneaky ways to weaponize many of the Internet's bountiful opportunities and use them to destroy innocent, curious, or unsuspecting children. As a nation, we cannot throw our hands in the air. We must confront the problem by taking proactive steps, including formulating appropriate policies and creating responsive legal framework to tame or defeat such evil minds. The making of this statement is one small effort in that direction. As parents, it offers us an opportunity to appreciate some of the risks our children face online, take relevant and timely actions to reduce risk, and do everything within our power as parents to give our children the tools they need to cope with the hazards that inevitably come with an online presence. Mr. Speaker, before resuming my seat, permit me to pray that you lead this House to adequately respond to the dangers I have highlighted here by referring this statement to a joint committee made of Committee of Gender, Children and Social Protection, and Communication and Digitalization for consideration, a report that will guide subsequent legislation and policy response. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity, and I thank colleagues for their kind audience.
Yes, Honourable Minister, you'll be the last one. Yes.
Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to comment on the statement ably and scholarly presented by the Deputy Majority Leader. Mr. Speaker, I said scholarly because the statement reads like an academic article, well researched, all references scholarly indicated, and we must commend him for that. Mr. Speaker, this statement speaks to a very serious matter presently affecting everyone. Mr. Speaker, particularly because the use of mobile phones, which is now called smartphones mostly, has become very important by our children. So we can stay in touch with them, reach out to them whilst we are here working and other parents working from elsewhere. So by the sheer nature of the circumstances in which we find ourselves, our children are necessarily exposed to the use of smartphones connected with the internet. So the concern of the maker of the statement is how do we allow our children to use smartphones but prevent them from having access to unwholesome content. Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Majority Leader made reference to some figures. As much as 4.5 billion children are part of the people who make use of social media. And Mr. Speaker, if the general statistics is that 40% of the general population is constituted by children under 18 years, then it presupposes that about 2 billion children are part of the 4.5 billion people who presently are exposed to social media. Mr. Speaker, this therefore shows that we as a people must take this statement very serious and the issues that he raises. For instance, at page 4, paragraph 9, he has this to say. He says that a UNICEF report released just 2 years ago, in 2021, shows that 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 13 boys suffer sexual abuse or some exploitation through electronic media before they attain their 18th birthday. This will be of some general application. It therefore shows that the number of our children in this country who are predisposed to the use of smartphone that these days come with social media applications inbuilt suffer similarly. Mr. Speaker, he actually quotes portions of the report to this effect that the scale, complexity, and danger of online facilitated child sexual abuse and exploitation is escalating, with technology enabling new modes of child abuse to emerge, such as the live streaming of sexual assaults of children and sexual extortion of children, often to coerce a child to take part in the production of child sexual abuse material under threat. Mr. Speaker, we have listened to other members raise similar matters in similar statements before. That's why I'm particularly happy about his final call of concluding his statement that this should be referred to the joint committees that he referenced in the statement that will consider the content of the statement and bring a report to guide the House as to public policy and legislation. Mr. Speaker, it's quite a lengthy statement, but I want to lend my support to the call that this matter be expeditiously dealt with and a report brought to the House. Mr. Speaker, to conclude, let me borrow the last suggestion that he put out as role of children of parents in checking this matter. On page 9, paragraph 19J, he says that as parents, we should impose limits on our children's screen time and set phone curfews to prevent our children from having late night conversations online. Mr. Speaker, I think we are all parents and we should be guided by this admonition. Check how long our children stay on mobile phones, smartphones, whatever gadgets, tablets, whatever gadgets are available to them. We set what is described as a phone curfew, so our children are not too predisposed to the dangers that the statement seeks to draw attention to. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
I wanted you to be the last person.
I know.
I'll give it to you. Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to the statement made by the Deputy Leader, and permit me to borrow of my friend, ably made by the Deputy Leader. Right Honorable Speaker, the cyberspace is a space seeks several things. Depending on how it is used, can be negative. The space and the technology can be used to advance societies. It can be used to communities. It can be used to create jobs. It can be used to do many other positive things. Unfortunately, it can also be used to create chaos and anarchy in societies. And we have seen that many times that people have cases in court because some use that space to attack the integrity of people who built those integrities for several years through hard work. That space, unfortunately, is also being used, or it can be used, to anarchy. And we have seen examples of such in many parts of Africa. Right Honorable Speaker, it is worrying when our kids, the young ones, the human resource base of our country, some years to come, happen to be the people who are affected tremendously by the misuse of that space. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm finding it extremely difficult to comprehend how we can guide against the abuse of that space. The kids go to school. You may have the ability to prevent your kids from going to school with such phones. Their friends may have it. Recently, we've seen how students in the secondary school use it to attack citizens of this country. We've seen how people virtually killed each other because they had to stab each other because someone used the space to attack somebody. He did so, he retaliated, or he responded, and at the end of the day, it had to take the security agencies to settle the differences between these two people. Right Honorable Speaker, the danger of this is not just what they look at, but the introduction of LGBTQ. LGBTQ through this space. I had, in fact, I've even lost count. I was watching TV at home, Right Honorable Speaker, these kids' programs, and I was flabbergasted to see some of the cartoons that they have introduced LGBTQ in them. And these cartoons on our TV found on their phones. It can be found on the phones. And that, for me, is the danger. My understanding of how some of these social networks are used by countries such as China, they are used mostly for education purposes. For example, TikTok is a Chinese program. And I have heard pundits, I've heard experts who have stated that in China the use of it is regulated. Regulated to the extent that kids are encouraged to use it, and they use it for the purposes of advancing knowledge. But in our part of the world, I can bet my last penny, 99% of it is used not for the purposes of advancing education and technology. It is used for the purposes of things that do not contribute any meaningful towards the development, the growth of this country. And I think that is why I joined the call that as a legislative arm of this country, we need to begin looking at policies through legislature where we can have some level of regulations as to how people use this space. Right, Honorable Speaker, I have had people who have created Facebook accounts in my name for more than 1 million times. And these accounts are used to defraud people. Just yesterday, I had to report it to the Ghana police that someone created a Facebook account in my name, asking people to pay money for the purposes of being recruited into the security services. I don't think that there's any member of parliament here who is not a victim of such faceless, cowardized Facebook accounts created by people we do not even know and pay to such because of the level of desperation of people wanting to get jobs. Right, Honorable Speaker, we must begin avoiding the talking and act, and we must act and act now. I got the information that the Ghana Police Service, because when I spoke with the police officer, that they have created a desk and that they are going to take a particular attention on how MPs' names have been used to create such. How about those who are not MPs? How about those who built their integrity, their life for several years, if not decades? I think that we need to begin acting. So, and it is in this vein that I can agree less with my brother and comrade when he said that this statement was ably presented by my very good friend, yes, Socialist Stem. I know how discomforting it is when someone uses the term comrade. Right, Honorable Speaker, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to make this statement and to thank my comrade friend for contributing to that statement ably made by my friend who otherwise should have been coming.
I'll come to the leaders and then the minister will conclude.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me thank the maker of the statement, the MP for Ifutu, Honorable Alexander Kwamina Fenyomaki, for a very thorough statement, a very well-researched statement. Mr. Speaker, the reason this statement is very important is that the maker of the statement took the trouble not only to outline the advantages of social media, but he brought out the dangers, and even outlined the role of parents in this fight to make sure that our children are safe. And indeed, I think every member of parliament on a daily basis will use some of the social media handles, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, TikTok. Mr. Speaker, and really, I think when we started, the term was information superhighway. The advantages are enormous. That a child in a village in Elembele who is connected to the internet can really study mathematics with another child in Japan, solve mathematical problems, solve problems that otherwise the answers couldn't be found. And so, yes, there are a lot of advantages. I mean, Mr. Speaker, this is and the social media that now has made the world a smaller place, a global village indeed. But indeed, Mr. Speaker, it also comes with it serious dangers that has been outlined by the maker of the statement. Mr. Speaker, the maker of the statement, in outlining them, talked about inappropriate content. He talked about sexual violence that really this has brought about, exposure to inappropriate or upsetting content, and a lot of dangers, as has been described by the previous speaker. Mr. Speaker, times are different now in this information superhighway. When I was growing up, the worst you could do was that KK's band has come to your village in the evening, and you somehow escape to go and watch this concert without the permission of your parents. I mean, they will track you down to that concert party, grab you by the neck, and you go home and you get a slap. But the parent of the 21st century is at home with a child. The child is in his room, and the assumption is that he's been a very good child, but he's on the internet. He's on the internet, connected to a place you have no idea. He's on the internet, connected with the dangerous child abuser who is, and we've had stories of a lot of missing children who have escaped. And Mr. Speaker, just 3 months ago, a young girl from the Brongahafo region was lured to Elembele district through social media with a promise by this young man that he was not only going to help her to go to school, he was going to support her with a lot of enticement. She ended up in Elembele district from Brongahafo. It was only by God's grace that we saved this young lady. We thankfully arrested this abuser. We found 30 phones, the police discovered 30 gadgets, phones. And this is a guy who's been duping so many people for so many, apparently has gone to jail 5 times. I mean, he was hardened, and all he did was on social media in a single room in a small village called Ambin, and was operating the whole country, luring girls, and I think even killing them, selling them, connecting with a network of very dangerous people. What we are talking about. And so, Mr. Speaker, the recommendations by the maker of the statement are very important, especially when he talked about the effort of the state. The state has already passed laws. He talked about the Cyber Security Act 2020 Act 1038. But I'll emphasize the need for us to revisit the Act and strengthen the Act to make sure that, quite frankly, we can close the loopholes, especially and make it more punitive to punish people who will take advantage. The recommendations especially are what impressed me. Mr. Speaker, he talked about the role of the parents. And there is nothing very important than parents making sure that they can engage their children, making sure that they can create the lines of communication so our children will not find it so difficult to engage us and tell us everything. How many parents have that relationship with their children? How many parents? That is important. The fear that I've gone on the internet, somebody has promised to give me all, giving me, yes, I know, I'm close. So, Mr. Speaker, this topic is very important. The need for us to address the issues raised are very important, but especially the concluding recommendations are critical, and we must take a real look, especially the one that, quite frankly, applies to this Parliament. In his concluding remarks, the maker of the statement has called for a joint committee of Gender, Children and Social Protection, the Ministry of Communication and Digitalization. I'm happy the minister is here. and even the security services. Mr. Speaker, what I want to add is that on 6 occasions, my name being used to do people. I've gone to the police, I've gone to the intelligence officers. They were close to, they tell me they were close to arresting people on spin tests. It never happens. I don't remember one time that they've been able to arrest anybody. And I believe a lot of ministers of state and members of parliament are helpless when it comes to these fraudsters. And so we must take this issue seriously, especially the Ghana Police Service. We can create a desk, the police service, when it comes to this issue. We must begin to have a whole department and train a whole army of cyber security experts to deal with these issues. Mr. Speaker, this topic cannot be exhausted today. It's too important. And we must revisit it and address the issues that have been raised by the maker of the statement. I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, Majority Leadership.
Speaker, I intend to be brief, and I see the Honorable Asla seated. I'm sure she will speak from the point of view of policy and also give some further elucidation to the matter. However, let me acknowledge from the outset that in other jurisdictions, I know about China, the UAE, and a few other places. When you visit this country, there are limitations clearly put out on what you do on social media, WhatsApp, and whatnot. Let's not mix up the issues raised by the maker of the statement. I think if you look at the topic, the deputy leader is looking at an early exposure of children to social media. That is the thrust of the statement, and I think we have to focus on that. Of course, I agree that there are other considerations and other concerns, especially looking at social media as a resource and its attendant negative effect inherent. So on kids, it's something that can be done. And I heard Honorable Mutala lamenting on limitations because even if we do it, we limit them on access to phones. They will definitely be going to other places like schools. It can still be done. Once it's a policy of government, then the begging question comes up as enforcement. And that is what we have to focus on. The maker, I must commend the deputy leader, very well researched, detailed, and also properly putting matters in context and referencing studies and publications that are relevant. However, Speaker, on the existing law, that is the Cyber Security Act, probably that is what, Speaker, if it pleases you, we may probably look at doing a consequential referral so that one of your committee, or probably you can have a whole committee to put together to look at these matters in context and advise the House on how we should go forward. Because the risk is real. We cannot pretend about it, especially where it concerns our youth, our kids, and how vulnerable they are. We may have to take a quick decision as a House and then come to some consensus how we should deal with it. The deputy leader lamented on what we've been going through as members, the fraud that has been perpetrated on us in recent, especially in recent times. All comes in wake to speak to the fact that all of us are wrecks. So the matter is not just about kids, but for the meantime, we probably have to look at the law, and as the maker of the statement, lament on the depth of report, a regular report to this House to know what is happening in terms of the implementation of various sections of the Act. Having said this, Speaker, I want to commend the Deputy Leader and pray you that you probably do the needful by giving out a consequential referral so that we can further pry into the matter and come to a very good conclusion of this. Speaker, I thank you for the space.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I must commend the maker of the statement, our Honorable Deputy Majority Leader, for a very well-researched paper, which speaks to the facts of the dangers that we face through our children are exposed to through social media usage. But it goes beyond merely social media usage. It is the dangers online generally that our children are exposed to. Some of these dangers don't just come from social media platforms, but by browsing other sites online. And as some of the members who commented on it indicated, it is not so much social media that is the evil, but it's the use to which we put it that may cause some harm to all of us. Mr. Speaker, he was right. Up to 30%, 40% of our children are exposed to dangers online. What do we do to protect them? The Cybersecurity Act provides some of the most far-reaching protections that our children can have, as indicated in the statement. And almost all the dangers that they're exposed to are outlined in the provision made for some protection for them against that. But it is one thing making provision in the law for addressing deviant behavior. It's another thing enforcing those provisions in the law. Thankfully, we've set up the Cybersecurity Act, which has a very active child online protection unit, which works very closely with both civil society and security agencies to clamp down on actions that are taken in contravention of the law. As part of their duties as well, they have a very, very active public education and sensitization department, WINC, and it is one of the most effective ways that we have identified to ensure that our children can utilize online platforms safely. We launched a Safer Digital Ghana program in 2008, and every year there's an Africa Safer Internet Day, which is celebrated as part of the Safer Digital Ghana project. Over 400,000 school children have been sensitized and educated on safe ways to utilize the internet and safer cyber hygienic practices. This year, they intend to reach another additional 600,000 school children, largely in the second cycle. Mr. Speaker, they've also instituted a short code through which all persons, not just children, who are affected by some practices online that they are uncomfortable with, can seek advice. It is a 24/7 platform which they utilize, and the short code is 292. So you just dial 292 and there will be somebody to guide you as to what you can do to either address a life situation that you're going through or prevent some untoward actions from happening. They also have peer educators in the various second cycle institutions and have instituted quiz competitions that also educate them on safer digital practices. As part of our Girls in ICT program as well, all the girls in the various regions that we institute this program in are also educated on it. We need to advocate responsible usage of social media. We do have adequate laws to protect all our children and ourselves, and it is not just our children that are at risk. There are several instances of adults who are also subjected to all manner of cyber criminal activities, either knowingly or unknowingly online. And it is important, as the maker of the statement indicated, that we educate ourselves so that we can assist our children and protect ourselves. This latest scourge of people posting nude photographs and images of themselves online is plaguing not just our young people, but even some of our older compatriots as well. It is something that we need to guard against, because once posted online, stay there forever. You may have deleted it from your device, but for those who know how to, they can always retrieve those images. So these are some of the things that they are taught never to do. It is also very intriguing that you will never meet a total stranger on the streets in person who will tell you that I want you to be my friend, and you would agree and share intimate information about yourself with that complete stranger within a few days of meeting them. However, this activity is happening online, where friend requests are sent and almost instantly they become like people you've known ever since you were born or thereabouts, forever. And we share intimate details of our lives with them. Our children through this program are taught what to do and what not to do. But as the maker of the statement indicated, it is absolutely imperative that parents interest themselves in what their children are doing online. Unfortunately, most parents are clueless or are unaware of many of the activities that their children are engaged in, the sites that they are browsing online, the people they are talking to online. It is important that we build relationships with our children that will enable them to discuss some of the challenges that they are facing, or even incidents that they are exposed to online with us, to enable us advise them on what to do. You can't protect your child if you don't know what dangers are out there yourself. So I agree completely with the maker of the statement that we provide an opportunity for the Cybersecurity Authority to give a full briefing to selected committees of the House. And I would even add the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament to the committees that should be giving a full briefing. I'm also in favor of regular reports being presented to the House, not just on social media usage, but on the state of cybersecurity in our country generally, to update us on actions that are being taken and the support that is required for us, from us as lawmakers as well. I would also urge the House to assist the Cybersecurity Authority and the Ministry of Finance to work towards operationalizing the Cybersecurity Fund. We may have a lot of programs, but without financing for those programs, it will be impossible to reach out to as many people as possible who need to be taught and exposed to some of the dangers online, and how we can also protect ourselves from those dangers that are out there. And so I'll be grateful if that referral can be made. I lend my full support to it and hope that through that we can all work towards providing the Cybersecurity Authority with the requisite support, logistical and financial support that they need to expand their ambit to ensure that we are all adequately protected. There is a cybercrime division of the Ghana Police Service, which works very, very closely with the Cybersecurity Authority. And there is a law enforcement liaison unit which has been set up within the Cybersecurity Authority to assist members who may have their identities stolen and cloned online, deal very quickly with some of those incidents. So I'll use this opportunity to urge all members of Parliament personated on any social media platform to contact the Cybersecurity Authority. They have established very, very good linkages with all the social media owners, and all those sites can be pulled down very quickly. Unfortunately, as fast as they're pulled down, they are just as quickly set up again. So it's a constant battle, but we can't relent on this fight. So I'll urge members to contact the Cybersecurity Authority. There are also applications which allow parents to monitor the sites that their children are visiting. and to even shut those sites down remotely. It is important that you even check the history of the sites visited by your children and your wards on their computers or laptops or smartphones as well. And you can retrieve that information as well. I'm sure if we provide an opportunity for the Cybersecurity Authority to liaise with members of Parliament, they can teach us some of these tools that will enable us to protect our children and ourselves online. Mr. Speaker, there is a suggestion, however, in paragraph 18 of the statement that I don't quite agree with, in the sense that he's asking for prohibiting children under 16 from consuming or using social media, and plans to sanction parents or guardians if any of their children are found visiting those social media sites. Social media platforms are a tool for either good or evil. It is not just visiting those sites. They may be visiting those sites for educational purposes. So let's not throw out the baby with her. Let's find a way to help them to navigate the internet safely, use the internet and these social media platforms responsibly, and derive the benefits that are available online while avoiding the pitfalls that are also available online. So I would not be in favor of criminalizing social media usage for children under 16. There are budding geniuses, and in our Girls in ICT program, we have encountered children as young as 9 who are building their own websites and are developing all manner of interesting programs through exposure to the wonders of the internet. So let's be circumspect in how we deal with it. But we believe that through public education and sensitization and training on cyber hygienic practices, our children can derive maximum benefits from the internet while avoiding the dangers out there. And so, Mr. Speaker, let me once again commend the maker of the statement, the Honourable Deputy Majority Leader, and all the comments that have come, and assure the House that we will work closely with Parliament to ensure that our children get the very best out of the emerging and available opportunities on the internet to enable them compete with their peers across the globe and come up tops as well. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Thank you, honourable members. There's another statement. It's on the footballer Christian Atsu. So the ranking member will read it. It's a very short one.
Mr. Speaker, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to make this statement on how the people of this country have been plunged in a state of confusion over the son of this land and footballer Christian Atsu's safety after a devastating earthquake in Turkey in the early hours of Monday, 6 February 2023. Mr. Speaker, it has now been about 10 days since two powerful earthquakes ripped through southern Turkey and parts of Syria. Rescue efforts are still very much underway in Turkey, where a number of people have been pulled alive from the rubble. And there have been reports on the rescue of many of our sons and daughters, for which we are thankful to God Almighty. But it is sad to say that there is no news of the true state of our very own footballer, Christian Atsu. Many are wondering if he is alive or not. Whichever the true state is, Ghanaians want to know. Mr. Speaker, I understand that in the wake of such an event, desperation increases as there is the urgency to feed family
and loved ones with news of the state of victims of such disasters in order to bring some relief to relatives of victims. This has resulted in the conflicting reports believed to have come from the Vice President of Atsu's Football Club a day after the earthquake, indicating Atsu has been pulled alive from the rubble of a building in Turkey's southern Hatay province and transported to hospital with following Monday's magnitude of 7.8 earthquake and was responding to treatment, only to receive another report of mistaken identity, putting his family and Ghanaians into a state of confusion, turning our hope into despair. Mr. Speaker, 2 days after the sad incident, the Ghanaian ambassador to Turkey issued a statement relating to the report from club official that the player had been pulled from the rubble, but the embassy was yet to establish contact with Christian Atsu, unquote. But still now we have not received any further update from the embassy to help deal with the confusion regarding the true state of his safety. If embassy is unable to provide us with any update, then we are in wonderland and do not know the report to work with, since there seem to be conflicting reports. The embassy owes it a duty to the people of this country to give an update on the situation and ensure the safety of every Ghanaian in Turkey. There are pieces of information on some media platforms such as Ghana Soccernet stating that rescuers are narrowing on efforts to rescue the footballer but lack necessary equipment to aid in their search to rescue Atsu and many others under the rubble. Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians think the government must be blamed for not putting in any effort in facilitating the search for the precious son of this land. The Turkish have lost over 2,000 of their nationals in this disaster. Therefore, the enthusiasm to look for one Ghanaian will obviously not be there. Report reaching us as at 15th February 2023 is that there is no representative from Hataya Sports present at the ground to help expedite the rescue mission. And another report stating that some sections of the rescue team have brought their rescue missions to an end. This is really frustrating news to receive. Even though it is getting too late, we think government should quickly intervene in this regard to help rescue Atsu, as it is predicted that more bad weather is expected to hit the region, which will further hamper rescue operations. Downed buildings and destroyed roads have also made it difficult to find survivors. Mr. Speaker, the earthquake in Turkey is a traumatizing situation. Stress, anxiety, and other depression-like symptoms are common reactions after such a disaster. It is therefore very necessary that the government, through the help of the embassy, to provide some crisis intervention counseling for Ghanaian victims and Atsu's family. Mr. Speaker, as we keep up hope to see Christian Atsu and many others trapped under the rubble alive soon, we need to learn from this as a country. Although we do not have control over the occurrence of natural disasters, some measures may be employed to mitigate its impact. There is therefore the need for some awareness of disaster-prone areas in Ghana, for instance. Education, preparedness, prediction, and warning systems can reduce the disruptive impact of a natural disaster. Mitigation measures such as adoption of zoning, land use practice, and building codes are needed, and avoid development at disaster-prone areas. Any law in line with whatever mitigation measure we have as a country in the event of a natural disaster must be enforced. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude my statement, I urge the embassy in Turkey to provide some aid to the Ghanaian survivors, as there are some others struggling to provide meal. My solidarity goes to the Turkish president and victims. Other prayers are with our son, President Atsu, and his family, as there is a firm hope that he will be rescued alive. May all who have died in the disaster rest in peace. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Very well. I'll listen to the minister and bring the discussion to a close. It's late. I'll listen to the minister and then I'll close it. Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to make comment on the statement made by Honourable Wayomi Kobina Mensah, MP for South Tongue, and the ranking member for Youth and Sports Committee. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, on behalf of government and the people of Ghana, once again extend our heartfelt sympathy to the government and the people of Turkey and Syria, respectively, following the earthquake that hit the two countries last week. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Youth and Sports and the entire government and the people of Ghana, just as the rest of the world, have been devastated by the high number of casualties of the earthquake. Of serious concern and worry to the ministry and the Ghanaian people is the disturbing situation of our brother Christian Atsu, who is yet to be found by the operative in Turkey. Mr. Speaker, whilst the good people of Ghana continue to pray for divine intervention, the Ministry of Youth and Sports and the government, through the embassy, the Ghanaian embassy in Turkey, continue to make all the needed contacts, efforts towards the discovery of our brother Christian. Mr. Speaker, during this difficult period, I have been in contact with the family of Christian Atsu. Currently, his brother is in Turkey, and I wish to acknowledge that in this House, the role the Ghanaian embassy in Turkey played in facilitating the passage of Christian Atsu's brother to Hatta, the epicenter of the disaster. Mr. Speaker, through the Ghana Football Association, we have also been in contact with other footballers, about 6 of them, who also have their career in Turkey, and that's Joseph Atta, Bernard Mensah, Isaac Kofi, Isaac Saki, and also our female footballers, Susan Tei Dede and Prince La Ochre, alias Kaka. Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Football Association, the GFA, have been briefing me on regular contact with the Turkish Football Federation as the search of our brother continues. Mr. Speaker, the devastating of the earthquake in Turkey is one of the unimaginable proportion considering the number of lives lost and injured, and the continuous search of our brother and others over a week after the disaster is indeed a disturbing situation for government and the people of Ghana. I wish to use this opportunity to appeal to the international community with the expertise to assist the situation, to offer immense support to the rescue team in Turkey and Syria during this humanitarian crisis. Whilst commenting the relentless efforts of the rescue team in Turkey under such a difficult circumstances, I wish to appeal to them to intensify their efforts in a way possible towards the search of Christian Atsu and many others trapped. Mr. Speaker, nothing is beyond the Almighty God, as the scriptures in both the Holy Quran and the Bible attest to. The intriguing and the miraculous story of Jonah and the will in both the Quran and the Bible should continue to give all Ghanaians hope that nothing is beyond the Lord Almighty. Mr. Speaker, may God protect our brother Christian Atsu and many others until we find them miraculously alive. Thank you so much for the opportunity to comment on my brother's statement. Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Thank you, honourable members. At this stage, we are all engaged in speculation. And I think that we should not heighten the anxiety of people directly affected. So I'll leave the statement and the response here. And it's way past our closing time, so I'll bring proceedings to a close. The House is adjourned to Tuesday, the 21st of February, at 10 o'clock in the forenoon.